Life Audio.
Today on Talk About That, John gets a 4-year college scholarship using only a roll of tape and ponders becoming a plumber. Meanwhile, I change my mind about seatbelt laws and celebrate the 21st anniversary of the best/worst invention of our lifetime. Plus a conversation about the pursuit of happiness and why adapting to challenges is a far better goal. Today's episode is not sponsored by Stretchy Pants. Are you getting fatter? Who knows, but we'll never tell. But first, a word from our actual sponsor.
Buckle up, everyone. Let's talk about that. I'm Jonnie with Jonnie, coming at you from Mount Juliet, but broadcasting, Jonnie, to the world.
We're coming at you, but we also want you to buckle up.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Well,
maybe, yeah. Watch yourself.
The collision's coming.
Yeah. Boy.
Yeah, it's a lot of metaphors.
It is. It's too many, honestly. Yeah. When did they go from remember when we were kids? I don't know if you, that we're 5 years apart, but I seem to remember cars with just a lap belt.
Yeah, I remember those.
And I mean, because I had older cars growing up. Did you ever have a car with no over the shoulder?
I don't remember. Maybe.
Because your first car was like the Sundance, right?
My first car, yeah.
It had a over the shoulder, right?
Yeah.
So my first car was a 73 Buick Electra. And so it was we didn't know safety from. All we knew was it's a big car. If you hit something, you'll just wipe it out. That's what you hoped.
I mean, you never used that seatbelt one time, I bet.
No, and here's the thing. It had a buzzer. It was like one of the early safety features where there was like a little light that would come on if it wasn't buckled. John.
So you just buckled it behind you?
When I tell you I buckled that seatbelt behind me and sat on it.
Yeah.
And I got into a bad accident. But it was one of those accidents, maybe I've told this story before, but it was one of those accidents where if I'd been wearing the seatbelt, I would have been killed.
And
because I was pinned, because the car folded around where I would have been, but I bounced clear of the...
Wow.
Yeah. But I wasn't trapped in that seat position.
Yeah.
Because I hit a telephone pole on my side of the car, on the other side of the road. That's how much I was hydroplaning.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those where, when they saw the thing, they were like, was he wearing a seatbelt? And the guy was like, no, he wouldn't have. We would have had to cut him out of here. He wouldn't have.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was one of those weird.
And ever since.
That's why I'm a huge no seatbelt advocate.
You were.
Yeah.
You've always fought against the idea.
I got over it. I got over it. I do. I'm all about, I'm more of a safety conscious person now.
Okay.
Well, first of all, it's a lot better. The cars are more, they're more engineered. Crash.
It wasn't about that for you, though. It was about whether or not
listen,
someone had the right for you not to hurt yourself.
Right. You're taking away my right to hurt myself if I want to.
Right.
But then I think it changed for me when I started realizing but all these people that do that, they make all of our health insurance rates go up. Because they're being idiots. That
is the most 40s and 50s guy thing I've ever heard you say.
So I don't want to be that guy that's like, look, I'm free to do whatever. It's like, well, no, you're not. It's still a community whether you want to participate or not. You are participating.
I think you're just an old. Yeah. You've turned into, you're shaking your fist at the heavens.
I'm just saying
the insurance.
If I'm gonna pay for your lacerations to your face, I want you to buckle up. You know what I'm saying? Let's reduce those lacerations. I don't know how we got on this. It was because you said buckle up.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Let's make a wide right turn and go somewhere else. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, my first car was a 1988 Plymouth Sundance.
Yeah, that was a great year for the Plymouth Sundance.
With defective paint on the hood.
How was it defective? I don't understand.
It was peeling, the clear coat would peel off. I thought you meant tastes like oranges. I don't know, what do you mean defective? It couldn't be buffed out or anything. I couldn't afford to paint it,
right?
Per se.
No.
I think I took it to Mako a few times, and they were like, "That's going to be $1,300." It's like that's how much I paid for the car.
I used to not put a full tank of gas in my car because I thought, well, this is going to break down, and what a waste to have a full. Because it was like a 30-gallon tank in that Buick.
Did you ever go to the gas stations? This is how.
Yeah.
How I guess me and my friends, how much we needed money.
Yeah.
You go to the gas stations late at night, and you go and see if there's anything left in the pumps.
No.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
There might be a little drop left or two. So my friend would go.
That's not going to get you anywhere.
Pump to pump just to get enough fumes just to get somewhere else. Yeah.
That's some janky stuff. That's like walking by the payphone and reaching in the little slot to see if there's any.
Yeah.
Wow. Look at you guys.
I tell you what.
No, I wasn't that bad off.
Look how far we have come.
I know. Man, we're on our way.
Yeah.
We are on our way. I hurt myself yesterday.
Doing what?
So I'm getting an EV. I'm getting an electric car. And so we had to install the outlet in the garage for the charger. Mm-hmm. And so it was going to be a ton of money. And so Curry's dad was like, I can do it. He was an electrician for many years. He's like, I can do it. I go, yeah, but don't we need like a permit? He goes, So he comes out. He comes into town, and he's 85. He comes into town. He's and we're messing around, and this wire, the gauge wire for this 240 outlet is so stiff. You got to fight it. You got to fight it to get it in that box.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah.
So he's this old man holding the end of like a hammer to push the outlet in while I was doing the screws. And the screws go in that, they're tight, the little holes that so it's not. And I'm just, and I'm cranking that screwdriver, and I'm trying to hurry up because he's pushing the outlet
in. You're
in.
not catching the threads, are you?
I'm trying not to strip it out.
Yeah.
And I am just going. And I did 4 of them because you have on each side of and by the time I was done, I was like, I bet you I'll be sore from this tomorrow. Sure enough, I woke up, I've got like carpal tunnel from a screwdriver.
Yeah.
I'm so old.
That's how you know.
I don't know. I'm ashamed. I hope if Curry's dad listens to the podcast sometimes, he'll be like, this guy.
Yeah.
What a loser.
He could have done it with one hand.
He married my daughter.
You came and helped me in my garage the other day.
Listen, I think you just said, put some eyes on this. I think you wanted us both to die in the explosion.
I wanted to make sure. So you had a hot water heater issue a few weeks before, and then I came home last Sunday from a volleyball tournament to no hot water.
Yeah.
I went out, my pilot light was off.
Yeah.
So we haven't told the story, have we?
This is the most 40s and 50s conversations.
Did we tell the story last week?
I don't think so. But anyway, yeah, John's pilot light went out.
So I relit the pilot light. It worked, and then it went out again, and then it wouldn't come on.
You had to buy a whole new burner assembly.
I had to wait for 4 or 5 days with no hot water. Had to wait for the thing to get there. But I'd watched the guy take it apart.
Yeah.
So I was like, I can do this. And I can't wait on a plumber.
Yeah.
And so, me and you were supposed to meet for the podcast, and I was like, just come to my house first, because you were getting off the exit.
This may be a bomb that I'm putting together.
I just want someone to make sure, because I wasn't sure about the gasket.
I want your face to get melted off, too.
But so far, so good. We have hot water.
Look at you with your hot water.
I'll tell you what.
Spoiled brat.
My plumber was like, if you're looking for a job.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
He didn't say that.
He did say that, actually.
Oh, really?
So I could use some help. Yeah. I was like,
it's a big, listen, these plumbers make some money, John.
It really helped my ego for a second, because you don't want me anywhere near anything, but I'm fairly handy.
It's good to know that when the preaching thing dries up.
That's right.
That you can, when the inevitable scandal happens.
Oh, I tell you.
It's coming.
You know, I'm at 25 years doing this job as a job. And
you know what? When I met you, you had just gotten your scholarship, which we mentioned Chris Whittle on last week's episode without kind of mentioning who he was and what his deal was. But because we said billionaires, dress the same every day or whatever, and they wear the same outfit. And it's like, it's just one less thing to think about.
Right.
They can put their mind on how to make another $1 billion or whatever, or how to solve world hunger, whatever they do, or some other evil thing that's not good at all. But we didn't mention but Chris Whittle was sponsored the scholarship that you got at school.
Right.
And the reason I was thinking about it today was I was putting This Week in History together, and there is an element of This Week in History that reminded me of your presentation to get your scholarship.
I think I know what it's going to be.
It's a story that I remember, and that I remembered you telling me, because basically you were, 17-year-old kid, and you basically went in with a sermon illustration.
Yeah.
Was your thing, and they were like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, you make a presentation to 25 UT professors.
Well, they don't know. You've been doing sermons and youth stuff forever at this point, and you're a confident speaker. So you probably did. They were like, okay, this guy's got it together.
Yeah.
You're like, well, not really, but
I
can spin a yarn.
It was a weekend of interviews.
Yeah.
And so you had to go to all these dinners and all these different things. And so they'd already been interacting with you. And this was one of the, it had a 5-minute presentation.
Yeah.
It was a little narrow room, I remember. And they're all at this big conference table in there.
Right.
So it was
it's intimidating,
really intimidating. That's the idea.
Did you feel intimidated?
I don't think so. Maybe. I was really nervous about the weekend.
Because everybody there has a 4.0, right? Or higher.
Yeah.
So it's not it's everybody applying is the cream of the crop. So it's not well, I'll stand out. I have good grades. It's no, I got to be good grades and.
Well, the Whittle Scholarship was you're basically a representative of, it wasn't for the smartest per se.
Yeah.
Everyone had high ACT scores and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And you have 4.0, but it was leadership stuff.
Right.
So I think 2,500, 3,000 people applied. Wow. And so they took it down to the top 25.
Uh-huh.
And they brought us to Knoxville for the weekend, and they picked 10. And so it was very nerve-wracking.
And it was a full ride.
Yeah.
4 years.
Well, it was like...
And 1 semester abroad.
Yeah. Back then it was, before Manning, it was, because Manning was a senior my freshman year, it was the biggest thing they had. Yeah. And you were kind of like a representative, like a leadership representative.
Now the biggest thing they have is like a $20 million NIL deal.
That's right. But yeah, are we going to tell what I did?
No, we'll talk about it when I get to the This Week in History. Yeah. We'll call that a tease, John, and that leads us to a very important break while we hear a word from our fine sponsors. And we're back.
We're at the height of professionalism here. Talk about that.
I always want to know what the ad's going to be. By the way, I felt so disappointed in myself. A couple episodes ago, I was talking about all the pills, and every time I see the Tremfya, I always want to go, this pill is Tremfya. But later on that day, I thought, well, what is it? When you get to the other line, what would it be? And I was like, call your healthcare provider. Okay. Anyway, and I was really disappointed in myself so I'm glad I didn't.
I'm glad if you would have said that, it would have been so embarrassing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're back.
We're back.
Tremfya, not a sponsor.
That's right.
I don't even know what it treats, honestly.
I think plaque psoriasis.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, you don't want that.
Isn't it like the big like...
It's got fire in the name. Like, plaque psoriasis feels like fire on your face, probably.
Well, they're trimming it.
They're trimming that fire.
Because isn't it like the big things that fall off of them? Anyway.
Oh, is it?
Have you not seen the commercials?
Yeah, but I don't know which one's which. It's like, what does Sky Rizzy do? Sounds like it makes you
Isn't Sky Rizzy where they're in the big dance sequence for something?
I don't know. There's one where they go, this little pill's got a big story to tell. And you're like, I don't think it has a story to tell.
Does. If the pill's telling a story, then you're having a side effect.
You need another pill.
That's right.
To take. My pill's been telling stories. You're like, okay, we're going to up your dosage of this pill.
Here's a cup of pills. Yeah. Anyway, hey, Johnny, it's about that time.
Oh, good.
It's my quote of the week. It's a segment we call They Talked About That. I'm a little haggard.
Yeah.
This is day 5 of antibiotics. So
no steroid?
I did have a steroid shot.
Look at you. Where you've been irritable?
I've been shaky.
And smacking the family around?
I feel like we put it this way.
Yeah.
We tried to start this episode 3 times.
Oh, yeah.
Because I kept pushing the wrong button.
Oh, it was your fault?
Yeah.
I thought you were going to blame the software.
I was arming the wrong channels.
You can't listen.
And and
then that's just like our lives. Some of y'all are out there arming the wrong channels.
If things keep falling out of my hands, it's very it's not great.
Steroids.
And I have a deadline this week that I have to do, so it's not great. But it's fine. I'm sure everything will be fine.
I'm sorry.
Everything's fine. Thomas Merton. Mm-hmm. I love Thomas Merton.
Okay.
I actually saw...
Theologian?
Yes. Well, he was a Trappist monk.
Oh.
And so, yes, he's a theologian.
What does a Trappist monk
do? It's just one of the... one of the...
They don't trap things, though? It sounds like you trap things.
No, but...
It's like, I don't speak, but look at all these raccoons. Like he's on it's like a vow of... He caught a bunch of, minks. It's a monk that catches minks. But he can't tell you about it because he's taking a...
That's right.
Anyway.
Well, there's Franciscan monks. There's just different orders. It's a different order. Okay. Anyway, I saw where he... Remember the monastery that our friend went to?
Right.
That was where Merton was.
Oh, okay.
The Louisville area is where he was. Anyway, he says, you do not need to know precisely what is happening or exactly where it is all going. What you need is to recognize the possibilities and challenges offered by the present moment and to embrace them with courage, faith, and hope. Which, this one really speaks to me as a guy who forecasts. Yeah. Like, you don't need to know precisely what's going to happen or where it's all going to go. Yeah. You just need to know where the possibilities and challenges are now and embrace them.
Yeah.
And so much of I think health is coming to a place where you accept reality. Mm-hmm. Because accepting reality, I think a lot of our unhealthy coping mechanisms are to try to deny reality, try to shift, try to reframe. Some different types really reframe, their personality types reframe things away to the point that it's hard to ever get them to acknowledge reality because the feeling is it will crush them so much that they don't want to deal with it. I think about this. My wife and I talk about it because I'm at a funeral all the time, right, in my job. But I meet people all the time that I don't think they've thought of the possibility that they were going to be here.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that insensitively, but it really does. And it doesn't take away, I think, I knew my dad was going to pass. It doesn't take away the grieving of it all.
Yeah.
But I wasn't surprised by it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, there are people who are surprised by those things. And I think that the grief is even more crushing at that point because you hadn't allowed any sort of pre-mourning, any sort of like idea that this would happen. So the idea that I can recognize the possibilities and challenges offered by the present moment. And how can I embrace those things, right? How can I embrace, and we've been talking about this a lot as well in our house, that the goal in life is not to be happy. But we really kind of, it's in the declaration, Johnny. I mean, like the pursuit of happiness. Like if your goal, and I think I sent this to you from some Japanese philosopher the other day. If the goal is to be happy, mm-hmm. and then you realize in a moment that you're not, then you're fixated on the scarcity of not reaching what the goal is supposed to be. And you think something's wrong because your standard is, I'm supposed to be happy all the time.
Yeah.
And so therefore now you've created this secondary thing that you're worried about, mm-hmm. which is, why am I not happy? And that's not even supposed to exist.
Yeah.
And
it's almost like a surefire way to be unhappy is like to pursue happiness with everything as the goal.
Right.
Like it's a surefire way to be unhappy.
And what that guy went on to say is actually sadness or anger or all these mm-hmm. things, depending on your situation, sadness may be the appropriate emotion to feel.
Yeah.
Or anger. And so the real health of it is, how do I live in the appropriate reaction of what that's supposed to be?
Yeah.
And not just assume it's always supposed to be one thing.
Yeah, I wonder where that came from, that idea that we are entitled. Because I think the pursuit of happiness is one thing, although we've talked about this before on the podcast, like the original language was the pursuit of property.
Right.
Which is fine, and it also shows what people think happiness is, but that's also, then you look back and you go, people used to be property too, so that's real weird. It gets really hazy and weird there.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, so even if you go with the pursuit of happiness, that's a totally fine goal, but like at some point we got wrapped up and now it's become equated with, I deserve a life that is free from obstacles, or like a life of leisure.
Yeah.
I've got to figure out things that annoy me. Toxic people. Anybody that's annoying to me is a toxic person. I need to weed them out because they're messing with my happiness now. And so like we start just like kicking things out of our life that may even like lead to growth sometimes, I think.
Yeah, no. I mean, James in particular says, I know in the Living Bible, which is how my dad wanted me to memorize as a kid, or the Bible he helped us to read so we could, understand plain English, was that, dear brothers and sisters, if your life is full of difficulty and troubles, mm-hmm. then count it great joy. I'm mixing here because this actually gives you opportunity for endurance, and endurance builds character, and character leads eventually to hope. Yeah. And like there's this, like the Living Bible says, don't try to squirm out of it. Yeah. And I think that's always the real hard thing for me is, and for all of us, when you're in a wilderness or you're in a hard moment, it's not that I think you don't need to keep walking and expect there to be an end of it. I think it's okay to want to be out of it. Yeah. I think that's fine. I think it's when you can't embrace that this is what it is today. Right?
Yeah. I'm a big forecaster for sure. And I think part of that is why I'm able to write jokes, because I can take like a simple scenario and then it's almost like I carry it out like you have the, people that know the 40 numbers of pi. Yeah. Like I can carry that 3.14 scenario out to its weird conclusion. I can be like, if this is true now, here's the absurd thing that could happen if this goes on. Well, this is like this thing. But that's fine for joke writing. It's terrible for life.
Oh, yeah.
Because it means like I'm always thinking of a worst case scenario or an absurd scenario that's really unlikely. But in my mind, it becomes highly likely.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm hard to live with, and I apologize, sweetie.
Well,
to my wife, my dear wife, that just, if she's listening, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry too, Curry. For Johnny, I mean.
It sounded like I was calling you sweetie. I wanted to make sure and differentiate.
Everybody,
I'm so sorry,
talking
sweetie.
to Johnny's wife. I wrote an article this week on Christianity.com. You guys can go check it out. Sometimes our podcast is embedded in those articles. where I talked about 12-step recovery taught me that worry is not responsibility.
Yeah.
Worry is misplaced meditation. And that my definition, I've never seen this, but my definition of meditation is you dwell upon something so long that eventually it comes to dwell in you. Like, and like it becomes something that you now believe as a part of you. And so I think what we dwell upon will be the thing that surrounds us. And that's, I mean, scripture says it over and over again. Psychology says it over and over again.
Well, we're seeing it now with algorithms.
Yep.
Like if you, like your phone knows that you lingered on that video for an extra 15 seconds, so it sends you more of that. Then you watch the next video, you go, oh, more of this came in my feed. That's this similar mindset. Before you know it, that mindset has taken root.
Yep.
And it feels like gospel to you.
Yep.
But you started it by, you just lingered on that thing. You hung around that thing. And in that way, I do think like there are toxic mindsets that we got to put aside, or at least realize that like when you dwell on something, you're letting it in.
Yeah.
You to act like we just, no, my brain's a filter. It spits out the seeds. It's like nobody is immune to this stuff.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
No.
It's wild to think that we still believe that we're immune to like becoming a crazy conspiracy theorist or whatever. All you got to do is linger on it. There's always going to be weird half-truths out there that can suck you in to something, and you can go, well, I never thought about it that way. Well, here's 8 more of those. Yeah. And here's 20 other people like you that believe it too. Yeah. Next thing you know, you're just, it's a weird thing, but yeah, our minds work that way. They want to be supported and backed up. Even if what you're believing is wrong or it's false or it's whatever, like you crave that validation. Yeah. And the algorithm's like, here you go. Yeah. All you want.
Interesting. What's interesting to me too, the language of Philippians 4 is that Paul says, if there's anything praiseworthy, which the if almost implies you may have to look for it. Right. If there's anything virtuous. Like it doesn't just say, oh, these things will be easy to see. Like, hey, if it's there, well, how do I know if it's there? I have to go find it. Right. And we say that in our house, like positive things won't find you. You have to go find them. You have to, I forget where I read this week, where someone said, oh, it was in the project I'm working on, the person interviewing who's working in the prison systems. Yeah. And she said her dad taught her that you have to work hard to be happy. Yeah. Like it takes hard work to do that. You have to choose this thing. And that was the language they were using outside of spiritual language, but it was just an interesting sort of connection to it.
We're both good friends with a buddy who is in the music industry as a touring manager, right? Mm-hmm. And basically the pandemic hits, all touring goes away. And he's been known for years as this guy who is like the most positive guy. And he had this kind of crisis, like what is going to happen? He had to start doing side hustles and all this stuff to make it until tours came back. And now he's jumped on, Post Malone, like a crazy artist that he's tour manager for now. And I ran into him the other day in Walgreens and we were just catching up. And I was saying like, I really appreciate like your persona online. You're always so upbeat. You always have so many cool things to say. Yeah. And he goes, it's why I keep getting jobs, honestly. People know me as that guy. So even if I wanted to get away from it, like there's no escape. Like people expect, because there's so many crises on the road. Yeah. And then they come to you if you're the tour manager, and you just have to be the guy that like, we'll solve this. Just to your point about Thomas Merton, it's like you handle each thing in a row. You don't go, if this all compounds, we'll all be doomed. Like if you're that guy, you're not fit for that job. It won't work. So like that upbeatness, it's so attractive to people. Yeah. That they'll throw money at you. We need a guy like that in the room. They'll want you. Like everybody wants to be around that kind of person. And what I guess I'm saying is, John, why aren't you that kind of person?
Yeah, I feel really bad now. I
don't know. Yeah. Well, let's do my segments, John. Let's start with Johnny's old jokes. We call it Joke About That. John, a man is waiting at a pizza shop for his order. When it comes out of the oven, the owner asks if he wants it cut into 6 slices or 8. Make it 6. There's no way I could eat 8 slices of pizza.
You see what he did there, guys?
I feel like we need one more this week. Yeah. John, a down on his luck snail is talking with his friends. So this is a true story. He says, one day I'm going to make it big. Right now we're broke, but one day I'm going to make it big, right? I'm going to have a building with my name on it. It's going to have a big S on the top where the helipad is, where my helicopter comes down. And I'm going to have, my house is going to have a driveway, and I'm going to have it paved in there, a big S too, for snail. And then I'm going to have a big limousine. It's going to have an S on the top. And the guy says, "Why would you do all this?" He goes, "Yeah, like when I'm driving down the street, they'll be like, look at that S car go." John, you don't like that?
I mean,
I can't eat 8 slices of pizza. John, let's do This Week in History. We call it Talk About Then. Look at that S car go.
Come on, guys.
John, this week, 2004, this is the 21st anniversary of the social media website Facebook.
Oh, wow.
It was launched by Mark. It's hard to believe it's only been 20 years.
Yeah, no kidding.
21 years. Because it's so pervasive now.
Yeah.
And I know pervasive, I guess, has a negative connotation.
It does. I think you chose the right word.
It's very pervasive.
Yeah.
And he launched it with Mark Zuckerberg, and listen to all these people, along with fellow Harvard College students and roommates, Eduardo Saverin, Andrew McCollum, Dustin Moskovitz, and Chris Hughes. They initially limited membership to only Harvard students, which I remember the early days of Facebook, which I got into it around 2005, 2006. You had to have a .edu email, or you couldn't get a Facebook account. And then they opened it up, I think around 2006 or 7. Maybe it was earlier. But I remember there was a time frame where you can get a Facebook now. And I was like, oh, I'll give it a shot, I guess.
We still got MySpace.
I'm more of a MySpace man. Yeah. My 12 top friends, etc. But anyway, it's interesting to think it's only a 20. I mean, you could make an argument that Facebook has influenced the last 2 or 3 elections.
Oh, yeah.
For a 21-year-old invention.
Yeah.
To be that, I mean, it's wild to think about.
It's changed the course of communication and information, especially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but happy birthday, Facebook, I guess. John, this week, 1789. George Washington was elected president, and I put him, he makes the list because he was elected, maybe you know this, with 100% of the electoral vote.
Yep.
He was the first and only president to do so.
I don't think anyone ran.
Is that what happened? He just was kind of like, you're our guy. They were basically trying to make him a de facto king, but he was like, no, we'll call it this. Is that what was happening?
I don't recall. I mean, I haven't finished the Washington book. Isn't that crazy? But I am in the Washington documentary right now.
You're in it?
Yeah, but he's still a general.
But you're not in the documentary.
No, I'm in it right now.
That's what this footage is going to. John, this week, 1972, big day. The screening of airline passengers and luggage became mandatory in the U.S.
Wow. So
it's hard to believe. It's interesting to think that was a long time ago, but also, what were we doing before then? Because there were hijackings happening.
Yeah.
Before the 70s, something must have happened where they were like, we got to start putting these bags through an x-ray machine.
Yeah.
We're not talking about modern day stuff where it's a lot of it's post 9/11 where you would call it almost intrusive. This is just hey, maybe that suitcase you have, we should look for bombs in it.
Yeah.
And people were like, how dare you? Yeah. They're like, I didn't even wear a seatbelt on my way over here.
Right.
That kind of a thing. People upset. But yeah, we should probably screen these bags.
That was a good move.
That was a decent move.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, listen, again, we're in a community. We got to protect everybody. We can't just have some rogue person out there. John, finally, this week, 1897, the inventor of the Twinkie was born. James Dewar. He died in 1985. That's a ripe old age for him.
Yeah.
That would have been, 88 years old he lived to be. He was a Canadian baker. I didn't know the inventor of the Twinkie was Canadian. He invented the Twinkie in 1930 while working for Continental Baking Company, which later became Hostess in Schiller Park, Illinois. He needed a substitute for the filling in their strawberry shortcake, as strawberries were seasonal. So he substituted cream for the strawberry filling, and the Twinkie was born.
Wow.
He himself ate 3 a day and lived to the age of 88.
Wow.
The original Twinkies had a stated shelf life. This is kind of the thing Twinkies are famous for, but it's kind of an urban legend. They have a stated shelf life of 26 days. The newer ones, 45 days. Wow. But as we all know, after the zombie apocalypse, the only thing remaining will be cockroaches and Twinkies. That's the whole thing they always say. A shelf full of Twinkies is all you need.
Yeah.
But 45 days is really all they technically are guaranteed for.
I'm not going to lie. I have a fairly sophisticated palate, but I love a Twinkie.
It's hard to beat.
It's hard to beat. There's something about it.
The sponge cake, the more, and then the cream.
Yes.
Good stuff.
This guy did good. And to eat 3 a day, that's what gets me is like.
But he's an outlier, probably. That's the whole thing. Like people think that you're.
No, that's why he lived to be 88.
His shelf life is.
Hey-o.
But yeah, that's the thing. They always find this old lady that's 105, and they go, "What?" She goes, "I have a Dr. Pepper and a pound of bacon," and you go, "Okay, but guys, don't you go do that."
Why not though?
Okay.
Maybe it's maybe if you believe that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
If you believe in the bacon and the Dr. Pepper, right. John, we believe in our listeners. Let me say that.
You know, you never did bring us back to whatever we were going to come to.
Oh, you know what? Let me do it today because I wrote
people are going to be hanging on the edge of their seat.
Yeah. Well, they could come back. I could make them come back for next week. John, this week, 1943.
Okay.
Duct tape was invented.
There you go.
While working at an ordnance, I don't know what that means, ordnance plant during World War I, Vesta Stout noticed that the way ammunition boxes were sealed made them difficult to open quickly. This could cost soldiers precious time in battle. So she developed a waterproof, terrible cloth to solve the problem. Her bosses at the plant were unimpressed. So on February 10th, 1943, she wrote a letter to U.S. President Franklin Roosevelt. This is a great story.
Okay.
So she couldn't get it approved anywhere. She was like, I'll write a letter to the president. I got something here. The letter said, I suggested we use a strong cloth tape to close seams and make a tab of same. It worked fine. I showed it to some different government inspectors. They said it was all right, but I could never get them to change tape. Roosevelt liked the idea, sent it to War Production Board, who implemented her tape idea. They made a tape using woven fabric known as duck cloth, coated in waterproof plastic with a layer of rubber-based adhesive so it could be torn by hand without the need for scissors. The tape worked great on ammo boxes, and soon GIs found it was also useful for fixing leaks, repairing equipment, and even closing up wounds on the battlefield.
Wow.
Stout received Chicago Tribune's War Worker Award for her idea. So, yes, it was originally called duck tape.
Really?
Because it was first made from duck cloth. And I think that had to do with being waterproof, like a duck.
There's still
That's why they call it duck
called
cloth.
Duct tape, but
and it wasn't used for duct work until many, many years later.
Interesting.
So the idea that it was actually a mispronunciation of duct tape is wrong. It was duct tape. So
that is something
we all learned. And John, you wanted to share your story because you had to give your little presentation to get your scholarship. You go in.
I had a sermon from my teenage years about duct tape.
Yeah.
And I would make all these jokes about it, hold your bumper on, if your arm falls off, all the stuff kind of
Which
thing.
is true, evidently.
Yeah.
People were taping wounds closed with it.
But I talked about it being like sin because...
Did you say the word sin in the thing?
I think I did.
Look at you being bold in there. I figured you might get like a more of a...
It's kind of like missing the target or whatever. But I just kind of was, I don't know. And I was like, hey, so, I mean, it's Tennessee.
Yeah.
So we're in East Tennessee.
Yeah.
And I just talked about how duct tape's beautiful. We all love it. I'd like rub it against my face. It was kind of funny.
Yeah.
I was like, but there's another side to it, right? There's another side that can stick to you, kind of thing. And that was sort of the whole point. So
this is And then they ran to the altar. No, I think the thing you told me was you could tape your two hands together. You tape it once, you could tear it easily. Mm-hmm. But if you go around 1, 2, 3, like the minute, so it gathers, and then you can't escape it.
Apparently, you remember more about it than I do.
I don't. I mean, I didn't. It didn't make me want to pay for your school or anything. I was just like, oh, they bought that.
To this day, I'm always like, that was the biggest thing. I had no idea I knew it was big. At the time.
Always big. That's one of those ones you're glad you didn't know, probably though.
Well, we came back. It was so big that they called me on a Monday morning, and we went and to school. My friends were all excited, and we passed by the guidance counselor. Okay, and they were like, "John won the Whittle Scholarship." He's like, "No, he didn't." Like, it was so big that he didn't believe I could win it.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
look at
it was like, it was like a life-changing thing.
You got dismissed just like duct tape.
Yeah, and where's that guy now? I don't know. I think he's probably a pretty nice guy.
He's probably doing okay.
He's doing okay.
He's doing just fine. John, there's a chance if you had not won the Whittle Scholarship, we never would have met.
That's true. I might have gone to a different
school. If your duct tape sermonette, illustration, whatever it was.
What have you.
If it had not gone over with the powers that be, you go to some other school in the middle of the state somewhere, or whatever.
Yeah.
We never meet each other.
Butterfly effect, Johnny. We could be speaking a different language right now for all we know. Who knows what happened because of that?
That's right. And then we wouldn't have this podcast.
That's right.
John, where would people go to listen to other episodes of the podcast?
They'd go to talkaboutthatpodcast.com.
Click on the upper right-hand link if you want to support the show. We love our patrons, and you can get ad-free content that way. Bottom right-hand corner is how you send us a note, or just send an email to hello@talkaboutthatpodcast.com.
Yeah, and check out Jonnie W, JONNIEW.com for more tour dates coming every single day.
Oh, we just added some more dates. I'm so excited. If you go to my social media, go to my beloved Facebook page, which we just besmirched Facebook, but we love our Facebook followers. But if you go there, that's a good way to keep in touch with me. And I post new videos every other day. And so but we have a new tour poster out, which has like several dozen dates that we just dropped. So
nice.
Check them out.
Yeah. Hey guys, thanks for the time you gave us today. Let's do it again next week. Here on
Talk About That.